Right, so last week, well-known analog horror creator Unknowingly released the first video in his new Murder Drone series, Mechanical Instinct, that I was lucky enough to watch as it premiered, and it lived up to all of my expectations. I highly recommend you go watch the video before continuing with this one, as I will be spoiling the hell out of the horror elements, and it deserves more recognition as is. The link will be in the description as well as the iCard if I can remember to put it there. But just in case you're being lazy, I'll give a quick summary of the plot. A while after the events of episode 8, N suddenly disappeared from inside the colony with no word on where he went. When he is eventually found, as we'll see later, he looks just a little bit different compared to how we saw him last in the series. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at this video, the teasers leading up to it, and the secret video hidden in the captions. First up, we need to cover all of the promotional material leading to this release, because most of it is just lore, and it lets us have a fairly decent understanding of what's going to happen. The first post that I can find that's connected to this series is 3 letters in binary, spelling out
O-N.
Binary is a common theme in almost everything related to this project, so I'll be referring to it a lot. So much, in fact, that I got somebody else to voice it for me. We'll delve deeper into the meaning behind these codes and the link between them all, but for now it's just enough to know what they say. The next 2 pieces with any substance to them are these ones displaying screenshots of our decrepit drone, along with more binary.
Hungry Monday.
The Monday in question was Monday the 4th of February, the day on which our teaser trailer was released. The majority of that is made up of N tweaking out in the background while text plays over the top of him announcing the project. Up until this point in the promotion, I never thought that I would cover this series beyond a short here or there. It wasn't really very interesting to talk about, and while the product itself seemed good, it didn't really pique my interest as much as other things on my plate. That was until I heard this line. You may already be picking up on the fact that something about that sentence seems a little bit off, and you'd certainly be right, so keep that in mind for a little bit later. But that's enough build-up. Let's take a look at the video itself, Khan's presentation. The video itself is split into 2 halves that I will be referring to as the presentation and the vlog, as well as an opening segment that is just lines from 1970s rock band Blue Oyster Cult, specifically their song Don't Fear the Reaper. The presentation, as its name suggests, is a recorded PowerPoint made by Khan that demonstrates some basic capacity of what the WDF is, what they do, and the reason behind why they do it. It's filmed on an old glitchy cassette tape and is complete with default PowerPoint animations. Throughout the tape, Khan maintains an upbeat and slightly goofy persona, messing up several parts of the recording and trailing off in the middle of points. But of course, that's not very scary, so near the end his tone shifts suddenly, urging all of the drones to stay inside the doors, warning them that death is guaranteed if they disobey this order. It's at this point that our good friend the creepy voice chimes in through the closed captions.
They never do listen.
Most likely referring to Uzi's original action of leaving the bunker in the pilot that set this whole thing into motion. The video then cuts sharply to the vlog, recorded from the POV of a random member of the WDF. He dies, so it's not important to give him a name. Our generic friend here has been told to search an external warehouse for the missing N by Khan. The only thing he knows is that the Disassembly drone disappeared several days ago without explanation, and a search party has been sent out to look for anywhere he might be, mostly due to Uzi's insistence. The warehouse where the vlog takes place is an old JC Jensen storage facility outside of the bunker that has been abandoned since the core collapse. There are worker drone parts and various boxes scattered about the place, but nothing too out of the ordinary. The strangeness of the situation begins when the worker spots some writing on the wall in what appears to be oil saying,
"Nothing gold can stay."
Before he can get a closer look, N's voice calls out from the side of the room asking for help. The drone appears somewhat relieved and somewhat disappointed to have found him and tells him to get off his sorry ass and come back to the colony. Completely ignoring these instructions, N begins to cast out another cry for help that quickly turns into purely robotic noises as he reveals himself to be a monstrosity with an incredibly tall form. The caption writer makes another appearance here, quoting Revelations this time.
And I stood upon the sand, the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
Placeholder takes the obvious course of action and hauls us out of there, but doesn't quite make it to the door before being jump scared and subsequently eaten. The captions cover this moment first with a not funny joke, and then with a more interesting,
I don't hunger, yet I eat.
Finally, to conclude the video, we get this sort of code that is really just the back end of a YouTube URL leading us to our secret video. This is an audio log taken by Jay of her being angsty and wondering how she's going to survive with so little drones left on the planet to eat. Each of these videos comes with their own binary code in the description. The main video has,
Do you think they will care about you once they see the mess you made, N?
And Jay's monologue contains a code for,
Don't worry, Jay. You will be a good use to me soon.
And that's pretty much all of the content we currently have from Mechanical Instinct. Now let's break it down. No, the videos and the videos. Let's break down the videos and try to figure out what's going on here. First off, the character who keeps appearing in the binary code and closed captions. I've deliberately refrained from calling it N throughout this video because I really don't think it is. My main reasoning behind this is the perspective from which they write. There are multiple third-person representations of N here, and one line straight up asks him a question, so it's pretty much out of the question that N is the one behind this. So it stands to reason that something has gotten into N's programming and has begun to control and mutilate his form. The obvious answer to who or what this thing is would be the absolute solver, but I'm also against that being the case. It's been confirmed by Unknowingly that this series takes place after the events of episode 8, where the solver was essentially reduced to Uzi's sidekick. That being said, even if the solver was doing something like this to N, surely Uzi would have picked up on it by now. Another reason I don't think it's the solver is the fact that the solver made the disassembly drones to begin with, a process that was mostly done by trial and error judging from what we see in episode 5. Why would the solver suddenly decide that the form chosen for the disassembly drones needs to be changed so drastically? It just doesn't make any sense for it to do this. So that leaves us with only one option for who this character is. They must be a completely new character in the story. Another type of virus or AI that's been dormant for some time, now seeking to capitalize on the power vacuum left by the solver's demise. Its knowledge of Uzi's venture from the bunker in the pilot shows that it was around for a while, but likely wasn't able to get past the protective measures in the drones placed there by the solver. Now that Uzi's taken over the solver as administrator and the solver doesn't have access to N and V anymore, it would be the perfect time for them to take over one of these drones. So what is this mysterious new virus and what does it want with the drones? Well, thankfully we have some more clues to that hidden in the two external references placed in the main video. The verse taken from Blue Oyster Cult's song talks about two lovers, Romeo and Juliet, who can be equated to N and Uzi in this series that are together for eternity. It doesn't take X-ray technology to see that this song is talking about death here. In fact, everything from the title of the song to the rest of the lyrics to the disastrously incorrect statistics screams death. Interestingly though, it doesn't paint death as a bad thing. In fact, it tends to paint the act of dying as a graceful thing that people should look forward to instead of fearing. You may think I'm digging too far into the themes of a random 70s song, but let me direct you to the book in the Bible being quoted here during the vlog statements. For my non-Christian audience, the Book of Revelations is the last book in the New Testament, and is essentially a prophecy regarding the end of the world and the second coming of Christ. The main message in this book is that everyone who has lived as God wished for them to will be brought to the kingdom of heaven, while all those who have sinned will be banished to hell. The assumption made here is since you've read the entirety of the Bible to get to this point, you are likely a God-fearing Christian, and as such should have nothing to fear during the rapture, once again drawing the conclusion that death is not a bad thing. So, who is this character? Well, I'm going to give all of my opinions on them by giving them a name. The Reaper, an AI designed specifically to end the life of every sentient machine it is able to. That is its primary directive, and that is all it will do. In fact, I don't even believe it knows the exact reason why it's doing it, just that it needs to be done. Take this line for example.
I don't hunger, yet I eat.
While that may be the attitude your mother takes towards food, in the case of a drone it makes much less sense, given the only perceivable reason behind them consuming anything is to sustain themselves. Jay illustrates this quite well in her monologue, mostly focusing on her lack of access to life-saving oil from workers.
Unfortunately, it is not enough to keep me sustained.
While on the topic of Jay, let's take a look at the last piece of evidence I haven't covered yet. The binary code underneath the secret video telling her,
Don't worry, Jay. You will be of good use to me soon.
The obvious implication here is that the Reaper is going to do what they did to N to Jay as well, leaving us with two horrifically deformed drones and even more problems for everyone else. But that's all I've got for today. Thank you all for watching, and have a good one.